Well, here's a question for you. Is the 44 Magnum Carbine good for plinking? Well, if you'll stick around just a few minutes, we're going to answer that question, and we're going to have some fun. Hi, George here, and welcome to Tales from Target Suite, where I'll share my perspective on guns and shooting, and we'll spend some time at the range, and every now and then we'll reconvene out in my shop back in Houston or here at the farm in Louisiana, where I'll build some fun projects, and we'll share an adventure or two that will make even a grown man smile. And yes, we are going to talk today about the 44 Magnum Carbine and whether or not it's good for plinking. But one thing I did find out in my research for the video is that plinking, as far as we use it here in North America, may be a localized term. And so for you, many of you guys and girls that watch me from somewhere besides North America, I thought I would share with you the definition of plinking. And it's funny, I picked up the first definition I found was from an Oxford dictionary. And it says under North American usage, shooting at a can, bottle, or similar target. And then they give an example of use, and they say, we enjoyed idyllic family afternoons plinking cans with a revolver. And so I guess that's uniquely English language there. Idyllic family afternoons. Here's another definition. Casual shooting where you're at least trying to aim, where hits are fun and misses don't really have any consequences. And then they compare that with target shooting and competition where things are more serious. And so if I were to define a good plinking gun, it would have three characteristics. One, it would be fun. Number two, it would have a manageable amount of recoil. And number three, it would be cost effective. And so when you think about plinking, generally the first gun that you think about when you're talking about plinking is a 22 something chambered in 22 long rifle. But in today's world, gosh, 22 long rifle is almost as expensive as a lot of centerfire cartridges. But the first item I wanted to address was the recoil issue. And so I've got a big orange set up right here, and I'm going to shoot two different rounds through there. And we're going to do some super slow-mo of that video. We're going to capture two bits of data. Number one, we're going to see the dramatically different velocities that we're going to achieve with hand loads. And number two, we're going to see how the recoil compares side by side. We've done this once before in a video, but we're going to see how the recoil compares from what is basically a full house load or near maximum load versus the hand loads that I put together just for this video. And so let me get the lab radar turned on, get another camera set up right here, and then we're going to see how the velocities and the recoil compares between two loads. Because if this Winchester Model 1892 and 44 Remington Magnum punches too hard, even with light loads, then it's not going to be what I would consider the right kind of gun for plinking. So let me get set up and we'll see how that looks. Okay, while I play those those images, super slow-mo images of the recoil, let me just say that I've got they're identical cartridges on the outside because they're both 44 Magnum and they're both topped off with a 200 grain Missouri Bullet Company hardcast bullet, and they're coated in high-tech red high-tech polymer. But you could tell from those videos that the 44 maximum load of 44 Magnum had visibly more recoil, and so what I'm going to do now, I've got one of the maximum loads. That's a near maximum charge of IMR 4227, and now I'm going to drop in a very mild load of Clay's powder. It's a new powder that I've wanted to try out to get some light plinking loads for the 44 Magnum. And so I've got the chronograph turned on now and my other camera, so let's send these rounds downrange and see how they compare velocity-wise. Okay, that was the difference between 1152 on the velocity with the light load with Clay's and 1732 with the near maximum load of IMR 4227. And so that's a substantial increase in velocity. And so for plinking, we're talking about generally close-up work. We're shooting at cans or some of the targets I've got set up down here, which I'm fixing to load up for, and we're going to shoot. And we're going to be, and so for plinking, we're going to be doing fairly close ranges and targets that don't need a whole lot of energy. And so with the right-hand load, you can get your recoil down to a level that's manageable, and you still have almost 1,100 feet per second with a 200 grain bullet. And so you're going to get some reaction downrange. And speaking of which, I'm going to readjust the camera and we're going to take some shots at those reactive targets that we have down there. And so step number one, is it fun? So far I'd say yes. And step number two, is the recoil manageable? And I'd say yes too. We have demonstrated that there's a significant reduction in recoil with these light loads. Now some might say, what about 44 Special? You get light loads with 44 Special. And yes, in normal times, you can buy relatively inexpensive 44 Special loads, but they're still just about what the low-cost 44 Magnum loads are. But it doesn't, in my book, doesn't get down to the level of plinking. Well, what I should have said was it doesn't get the cost of shooting down to the 44 Special ammo doesn't get the cost of shooting down to a level that I'd be comfortable doing much plinking with. And the only way I can support this channel with ammo is through reloading. One, the cost savings is there, and also the ability to fill in the blanks when factory ammo is not available. Reloading takes care of both of those things. Now, the other thing, there's a couple of things we want to do. One is I want to say goodbye to an old friend here in just a few minutes, and I'll explain. And we're going to have a send-off. And number two, I'm going to break out the harmonica here at the end of the video. So that'll give you a chance, you guys and girls, a chance to run, if that's what you want to do, or if you want to hang around and hear me squawk on the harmonica, then you can do that too. So let me get the camera here turned on, and so we can watch these guys react to some light loads. Well, there are 6 cans of Blast soda. That's almost all that's left of Blast soda. And if you've been around this channel very long, you know it's been that Blast soda, which is a store brand for Super One Foods, has been a big part of the channel. And unfortunately, Super One has decided to terminate that store brand. And so once I've gone through a few more cans of Blast soda, that will be an end to the old and a beginning of the new for the channel. And maybe I'll have to ask you guys to recommend some brands of diet sodas that could replace Blast soda. But in any case, it's been a great ride for the channel with Blast soda. So far, so good, I hope, on the 44 Magnum Carbine for plinking. We talked about cost, we've talked about recoil, we've talked about, what else did we talk about? I forgot. But we've covered some of the bases, and I'm sure some of you guys will have opinions in the comments on what constitutes a good plinking carbine, but at least as far as the 44 Magnum goes. But there are lots of great plinking cartridges. And the question in this video was, can a heavyweight like the 44 Magnum can it qualify as a good plinking carbine? And I think the answer is clearly yes. But it really does hinge around one, either deep pockets for you guys to find some 44 specials, or you get into reloading and cut costs that way. And I would even go so far as to say, with the cost of primers now, if you have to buy primers on the open market, then the cost of hand loads almost gets out of the plinking range. But regardless, we've got some reactive targets down there that we're going to shoot, and then we're going to reload. After these, I've got 9 more light loads for plinking with the 44 mag carbine. So let's bust these targets down here, and then we'll set up some more. All right, that's definitely fun. All right, let me go get the blast soda set up, and we'll say goodbye to a stack full of old friends. Okay, while I get this Winchester model 1892, which, by the way, you haven't gotten to see very much of this video, but I'm going to get this Winchester model 1892 and 44 Magnum loaded up one more time for the blast soda. And while I do that, let me just play some B-roll here so you can see how do you get a new shooter excited about reloading. So I'll play that video while I'm loading up one last time. And yes, if you are already into that segment of shooting, keep in mind, certainly have an influence on the next generation. Last one. So long, old friend. I would say 44 Magnum carbine, great for plinking, but you got to get some cheap ammo. I'll see you in the next video.